Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
Sorry that just to any listeners and viewers that are watching right now. I apologize for the interruption in our episodes, but we've just had a few long weeks. Last week when I almost forgot that it was the day to record last Monday, Martin Luther King Day, because I spent 3 hours in a urgent care, barely able to stand up.
Can I tell you something funny about your pain? I misread your text, which said, I forgot we were supposed to record tonight, and I'm in urgent care, with a problem. I read it as I forgot I was spending the day in urgent care today. And I was like, oh, that's funny. At least you have a good spirit about it. And I realized that's not what you said. That would have been funny, but you didn't actually say that.
No, you should have known when it looked funny that it wasn't me. So no, I had a UTI, which the doctor. So the doctor at the urgent care was a man, and he was like, "This is very unusual that a man would get a UTI, and it's probably more complicated that a man, if you have a UTI, it could be kidney stones, but you're not showing any other signs of kidney stones. It could be." And he was kind of like, he was very he was saying that was where he was going with the testing, but he was very like intense about it. He was very nice, but it seemed so. And then I had a scheduled doctor's appointment with my primary care the next day that I had scheduled out 2 weeks earlier. And I was like, but they weren't open the day that I needed it. So I brought all the paperwork over and I told her, and she goes, yeah, it's probably UTI. And I said, he thought it might be more complicated. She goes, yeah, it tends to be a little more complicated with guys. Like, it just wasn't that big of a deal. And I think, like, it just felt a little sexist on his part that he was like, what are you, a fucking, like, remember when you used to get, like, cramped in, like, as a little kid, and you'd be like, oh, I got a cramp. And they'd be like, what are you, a woman? You got cramps? Like, that's what it kind of felt like a little bit.
Somehow it wasn't quite as sexist in the 70s as it was in the 80s. It's like things got worse before they got better.
I mean,
we didn't get that
sign of the times.
Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe it wasn't that it wasn't as sexist, just wasn't, we didn't need to get that granular. It was just easier to be like, we were more overt with our sexism. We didn't need to say it's because of cramps.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm better now.
Yeah. Good. I'm happy you don't have sepsis, because it's the thing is the problem having worked at bioMérieux as we did and working in sepsis as we did. One of the things you hear a lot about is UTIs that turn to sepsis, and like for sepsis, that's a large percentage of the patients. For UTIs, it's a minuscule proportion. But I can't help when I hear UTI thinking sepsis, because I know that on the sepsis scale, that's a lot.
Right. Yeah, so that's why I barely could stand up, and so I was like, I don't want to record tonight, and I don't know that I'm going to be good to record the next night, so...
podcasting is done from a seated position.
Yeah, but I would have been like half like, guys, I don't know.
Sorry, that's an old man science fiction reference. It's in the old original 1970s Battlestar Galactica. It's a thing where the pilots have all get like a flu and they're all like super sick. And Starbuck has been training some of the women to be pilots because they're the last survivors. They don't have, endless people anymore. And the women aren't quite ready to be pilots, but a battle happens. So they have to go. So they're fighting and they're having trouble and they're losing people because they're not fully trained yet. And then the Blue Squadron, the top squadron, shows up on the deck of the Battlestar and says, Blue Squadron reporting for duty. And Colonel Ty goes, you men are so sick, you can't even stand. The Viper is flown from a seated position. And all of a sudden they come whooshing in to save the day. And that is whenever my wife or I are sick and like saying, oh, I'm so dizzy, I can't even stand. We're always like, the Viper is flown from a seated position. So what are we talking about today? Not my computer.
Well, okay, so before we dive into the topic entirely, I just want to say that I am no longer working. I went back to the day that we did our last record was my first day back at work, and it was and then that Friday I gave my notice. and quit my job. For necessity reasons, essentially. So please don't, if you're thinking about donating to us through Patreon, please don't think like Mike just like up and quit his job. I quit for very, very good reasons, and I don't really want to say more about it than that. But
You
the
didn't quit
topic,
because the podcast was paying your bills. That's not why you quit.
no, I did not. Right.
But it would be
So,
nice
like,
if it did. Hint, hint, everyone.
It would be nice if there was like a little bit of help in the income.
If the podcast paid for itself, it would be nice.
That would be nice, yes. So, this topic, I had pitched it to you guys before I knew I was going to quit, before I knew anything was going to happen and that I was going to kind of have to quit. And so the topic for tonight is when a job is like a more of a career, and I'll actually explain to you why I came up with this idea, what I wanted to talk about kind of specifically, and then we can kind of go broad too. So I watched Fly Me to the Moon, which I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's about the
Fly Me to the Moon. Sorry, Mikey.
It's Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson, and it's about the moon landing, and
it's fake.
And there's a little bit about like, did they actually shoot a fake one too? And I thought it was a very cute, fun movie. Like I really enjoyed the movie. I don't know if it was a great movie, but I enjoyed it a lot. And one of the things that when we were watching it was, they're at NASA, and there's lots of people at NASA that like, and I was like, they're probably not making. Like they're not making like a huge living. Like they're making
a government
employees, the equivalent of like $45,000 a year now, to some of these engineers probably. And there was it's something that I heard in the last 6 months or so was someone say, 50 years ago, success was measured not by how much money your job paid, but by how cool your job was. And NASA is like the perfect example of that, right? Because like, sure, did the pilots make a lot of money? Maybe they made a little more, but like your average like engineer like was probably making, lower middle class wages, right? Like they weren't making a ton, but they were doing some really cool shit.
It wasn't cool to anyone except them until after the moon landing.
Sure, absolutely. But it just really like made me go like, oh yeah, like because I'm at a point where like I need a job, and like I still need a job, but I don't need like the best paying job. I don't need to go try to find some 6-figure job. I need something that will pay, a reasonable amount, and that isn't soul crushing, because like
it's the hard part.
Because there's a lot of jobs right now where it's like you're not even getting paid enough to have it be soul crushing, but it's soul crushing. Not that I've ever had one of those jobs. But some people do, and so like the idea to me was like, oh yeah, if I could find something making like $40,000 right now, or 40 or 50 grand right now, that was like a really cool fucking job. Like that would be awesome. And I wasn't even, like I said, I had not left my job yet. I hadn't planned on leaving my job. I just was like thinking about that idea because of the NASA stuff. So that's kind of where the concept for this episode came from. And obviously, this would be a really cool job to get paid for. Patreon.com/talking about the big stuff. Okay.
Yeah, so what you're looking for now is what I'm looking for when I retire.
Yeah.
Like I would like to retire young, even for too late, but younger than other people, and get a $40,000-$50,000 a year job at a nonprofit or someone doing something I really want to support. That I'm not doing it to get money. I'm doing money. Nice, you need money.
Cover your bills.
I'm doing it in addition to my retirement money, not in lieu of.
Yeah.
So, but I could do something. So I've been lucky that in my career, I lucked into a job in pharma. Like it was a temp job. I'd done retail. I was working in bookstores mostly, and then I did a short stint in a shoe store because I hated the bookstore I was at. And one of the women I worked with was like, "Oh, my girlfriend's a manager of a shoe show. maybe she'll give you a job. You can be assistant manager or something like that for her. And when I met with her and she was all on board with it. And then when I met with the district manager, he was like, actually, I want to put you out in our bumfuck store in Zebulon and make you an assistant manager there instead of a shift manager under Laney. And then after like a month or two, he was like, okay, I want to make you manager of the store. We're going to work towards making you manager of the store in the next couple of months. And it's like managers work like 60 to 80 hours. And I'm like, I quit. He's like, what? I'm like, I'm not working 60 to 80 hours in a shoe store. There's no way. Like, this is not my career. And he goes, well, you don't have to quit. You could just keep working. I said, yeah, but if I know I'm not going anywhere and you know I'm not going anywhere, why would you really want me? I'm not going to quit today. I'm not walking out, but find some other people. I'll give you a couple of weeks, whatever it was. And then signed up for a temp agency, ended up at Glaxo, and discovered that I can have a career at Glaxo. And I didn't realize it was a career until 5 years in. Like 5 years after I started at Glaxo, Jacob was born. We had just moved into our house that year, so that we owned, built our house, so we had a mortgage. I been married for 5 years. I've been at Glaxo for 5 years. All these things hit, and I realized, and I turned 30 all at the same time, and I was like, oh, this is my career. This is my life. But I was lucky enough to end up in pharma by accident and discover that, I'm working in a place where I'm helping to save lives, and make those lives better and let them live longer, do more. Things that I did not have the skill set to personally do.
Yeah.
But through supporting the company's mission, I could. And people can say all the negative things they want about pharma. End of the day, you want pharma to exist, not exist.
Oh, yeah.
It would be nice if things were, if the
everything can be improved. Yeah, everything can be improved.
If the insurance industry and our healthcare and everything wasn't so screwed that pharma is so expensive, but it's so expensive to do the research, and people like me want to get paid a lot to work there, so there's a lot. Yeah. It's not altruistic at all. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, but it's better that I do this job for this money, selling HIV medicines that save your life versus selling chocolate bars. And I could have the same job selling chocolate bars. I can market anything. So I'm happy that my entire career has been in pharma, in diagnostics, in jobs that are in the healthcare industry that contribute to public health in a way that I could not personally do in any other kind of job other than the roles I've done to support these corporations that do the job in a fairly moral and ethical way.
Yeah. I have almost every job that I've had has been like I haven't gone like I want to work for company A and then gone and worked for company A, other than like grocery stores when I was in high school. Everything else has been kind of like temp agencies or going through listings and being like, I don't know what this is, but whatever, it's a job.
I mean, Glaxo
it
was literally just
some really interesting stuff
so
that way.
The temp agency.
I ended up working with you at on the at Biomiriu on stuff that was blood tests to make sure that people don't get sepsis, and which Sarah basically had sepsis when after Logan was born, and like I stumbled into not only a good relationship through that job, but I stumbled into a job where I was like, holy crap, like Lenny was awesome. I stumbled into a job where I was like, oh, I really care about what this product does, and I loved it. And
so it's funny, when the temp agency first called me about Glaxo, they were like, oh, it's in the animal department, so I don't know, like you wouldn't work with animals because it's an admin role. He goes, but they might wheel like dogs past you or something on like a gurney. So I imagine not a lot of people looking for admin jobs said, yes, I want to interview at that job. So I got lucky because the way they were describing it probably weeded out people. And then after I was there for a while as a temp and it was going permanent, my boss wanted to keep me. So he basically, anyone internal who applied for the job and it went permanent, he would tell them, well, how are you with handling rats and mice? And it was all, these older women who were admins for careers. And they were like, what? And he'd go, well, when holiday season, when people are on vacation, everyone has to pitch in. So you'll have to, give injections to mice and do so. Totally lying. He's 100% lying. I touched dogs because I wanted to, and I played with the dogs, and I helped actually the dogs have physicals and restrain them, but they're dogs. They're fun to be with.
You got to euthanize the dogs. We understand.
Yeah, I never had to mess with the rats, except on computer and on paper. But because of that, like everyone withdrew their request to be interviewed. So then he came in over to me and goes, "Yeah, nobody internal wants the job. I'm able to go external." you still want the job? And I said, yeah. And he goes, good interview. Let me talk to my VP. And then the VP calls me in and goes, yeah, Steve wants to hire you, but I have to sign a form from the Equal Opportunity, Equal Opportunity Employment, whatever, equal EOC, equal.
Not anymore, you don't.
Yeah, right, not anymore. Saying that we're not hiring you, and like we're not interviewing other people because we're racist and we want to hire this white guy, but it's because you have been here and you are doing a great job. It's not to avoid other people.
Yeah.
And but the VP who said that, Dr. Miwa, is this Japanese guy raised in Jersey. He goes, I'm from Jersey, you're from Brooklyn. We can make a deal if you want me to sign this form. And I was like, what do you want? He goes, when are you going to New York? I'm like 3 weeks? He goes, you bring me back a pound of good corned beef, like where you would take your parents, good corned beef, and I'll sign this form. I was like, deal. And he signs the form. He goes, just freeze it for me. Have them wrap it well. Freeze it. I put it in a bamboo steamer and I steam it. It's just like you do in the deli.
Nice.
And I went and told my boss that, and he asked me how much good pork pastrami was, and back then it was like $18 a pound. And he pulled a 50 out of his wallet and said, "Here, get him $50 worth on me." And then every time I went to New York for the next couple of years until Gerald left the company, he would give me $20 before I went to pick him up corned beef.
Nice.
Yes, I lucked into it completely, but it was a moral and ethical place to be. Killing rats and mice and dogs and but saving lives in the process.
Yeah. I haven't had any. I'm trying to think. I haven't had any jobs that have been unethical. That I know of.
I did have one. I did have an unethical job right after college.
Oh yeah.
I answered a kind of a scam job interview thing that turned out to be like, got there and it's 20 people in a room, applying for the job, not one. And it was to sell junk jewelry door to door. It was just like brass jewelry with 24 karat gold. It was 24 karat, but like microns of gold sealed onto it. So it's costume jewelry. Went door to door into businesses, into McDonald's, and be like, oh, they're going to be selling this in the stores here soon. Wouldn't you want to own it? And so that was a little.
I did the same thing with.
I did
the same thing with Ansel Adams photos, but I did 2 weeks before I got fired. I basically ran out of gas money to keep going because I didn't make enough money, and it was like 100% commission. And then I stopped going, and the guy's like, "Well, if you're not going to show up, you're fired." I'm like, "All right, well, I don't have the money to like continue this job. I don't make so." But I've had some really interesting jobs, but and I haven't had that job. If bioMérieux had kept me on, I probably would have still be there, or I would, still be in that industry. But nothing else. Like everything, I've actually kind of, it's funny because people talk about like, oh, after you leave a company, like, because I've had a lot of jobs, especially through temp agencies. That after you leave a company, they're like, oh, do you want to continue in that industry? I'm like, if it happens, fine. Like
it was a job, not a career. So yeah,
right.
Whatever.
The medical, after working at bioMérieux, I applied to a ton of stuff that was that kind of thing, and since I've applied, even since I left, even since I started looking 2 years ago, I've looked at medical stuff, and it's the only thing that I look for specifically is medical stuff, because I'm like, yeah, you could be doing great stuff here, and and I've gotten 4 or 5 interviews deep, and then they're like, "Wow, why is this 40-year-old entry level still?"
Yeah.
So, but Sarah has been saying to me, as she was very encouraging of me quitting, and she's been like, "Well, look at like film jobs, see what there is, and like look at Atlanta," and I'm like, I don't want to move to Atlanta. Although Adam. You guys don't know Adam, but you're a business partner with him.
I own a business with him, but I've never met him because he doesn't exist.
Well, he told me he actually
said, birthday party. You're gonna meet him. He's coming in. Sure, he is.
Yeah. Well, he told me a couple weeks ago. Him and I were texting, and we were on the phone, and he said I should move to Atlanta because I always do better when I'm around black people. And I'm like, I'm around black people here. And he was like, not the way you would be in Atlanta. That's what he said to me. And I'm like, sure.
But you can move into a black neighborhood if you want here. You don't have to go to Atlanta to find a neighborhood.
Yeah, I know. Well, and it was funny because he called me and I was at work, and my cubicle I had like black people in every direction from me, and I was like, I'm literally surrounded by black people at this moment.
Did you tell him some of my best friends are black? You should have told him that.
He's my best friend.
Yeah.
He actually, it's funny though because like he does not like me being friends with other black people. It's like he gets very jealous. So he wouldn't be jealous of you or Alex, but
Did he ever kill a bunch of them?
black people?
Well, because they were friends with you, yeah.
No.
My best friend growing up used to kill my friends. I mean, in D&D mostly. Like literally, he'd go, well, invite that guy over, we'll play D&D together, and then he would turn and kill the guy's character during the game because he was so jealous of me having other friends.
When Sarah and I went to Disney World for the first time together, it wasn't either of our first time, but it was our first time together. Adam and I had been about a year earlier, and Adam texted me the day we left and goes, just remember, you and I went there first. I'm like, actually, I went with my parents 20 years ago, but yeah.
Yeah, he was a guest on this podcast before I was.
Yeah. He's welcome anytime, but he's got.
You say that like he's listening.
That's true. I would be surprised if he even listened to the episode he's on. I don't know that he's ever.
My best friend listens. Not only does my best friend listen, his daughter listens.
Well, your best friend earns the title of best in the friend part. My best friend earns the friend, and I give him the best. So,
yeah. You give him the best, huh? Is that what the kids are calling it now?
Yeah. Sloppy.
Yeah, so when I was at Glaxo 5 years is when I realized this is my career. This isn't just another job. Like I've been here 5 years. I'm going to be here, and I was there 15 more years, and now I'm back. But it's weird when a job becomes a career. Though it's weird because my job was never like it wasn't my career. Like what do you do for what's your career? What do you do? Like digital marketing is pretty much my career now, but it really wasn't until 2006, maybe 5, 6, maybe is when I switched into doing this kind of role. So I had been like half my time at Glaxo wasn't like the first 10 years. I was an admin for a while. I was in charge, the resource manager in charge of ordering animals for the laboratory and bedding and caging and stuff like that. And I started doing communications for them, like newsletters on the website. And then I got a job in the editorial department of the company on the other side of the company, editing marketing material. And in that, I started doing more and more marketing stuff, supporting marketing more and more. And I was the most computer savvy. So when we started doing websites, I was the key person for websites who understood them the best. I wrote a website that we designed internally for a small brand that couldn't afford an agency. So when our internal artists had learned how to do HTML and Flash, so he designed it and I wrote all the content for it, adapting it from other material. And then when an e-marketing group came up, I eventually got a job in it. And then really that's when my career started. 10 years in there is when my career of digital marketing really started.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense though. Like that's like, think about, especially with technology changing, like 10 years earlier, digital marketing probably wasn't even a thing, right? Like when you started.
Because I was cutting edge, because I was so good. I had a computer when I was 12 years old. I had a trash 80 color computer. And it was rare among my peers, like the people that were around me in marketing and in the editorial group stuff. Most of them, they used a computer in their daily life, but they didn't know how to program a computer. I only knew 2 languages, but I could program a computer once upon a time. They weren't into the web. Like I was telnetting from Glaxo's work computers into UNC's computer to use internet browsing before we had browsers on our system. Our terminal program that we use for email, I figured out how to telnet into the school computers and use their close to a browser before we had our first, commercial browsers that consumers could use.
Yeah.
So I was just so savvy with it that it became, I was there. Digital marketing hadn't come in when it did. I don't know that I would have gotten into marketing as easily as I did because I had done a rotation in marketing before the digital side, but I was okay in marketing, where in digital I was super strong. So the blend helped. Yeah. So the blended digital market, like I was an okay marketer. I was an excellent digital person, so I was a good digital marketer.
Right. I think that that's a really so back to the idea of like cool jobs. I think that the idea of oh yeah, this job didn't really exist when I started my like career is a cool thing too. And I that's not that's a good example, but I can't think of other examples at the moment. But like actually, when I worked at a CAD company, and I one of my marketing things this was finding different things that were going to happen within the industry. So we did a lot of automobile stuff. And so we were talking about like automated driver stuff, and that was kind of not really on the roads yet. It was still kind of like not hypothetical, but it was still in like in beta and stuff. So there was not like self driving vehicles yet on the roads, and
Johnny cabs.
I
There were
was
Johnny
writing
cabs on
about that,
Mars.
huh?
There were Johnny cabs on Mars.
Well, you know what I mean. Like on Earth roads.
No.
And so that was real. Like I always thought that was really cool. Kind of being like, this is going to be a thing, and like if you're a mechanic, and then you switch in at some point you're going from like gas to you're having to work on EVs, and maybe you're having to work on automatic driving stuff. Like the idea that like your career is just a drastically different thing than when it started is, to me, that was always exciting. It was the thing that sucked was like when you're like, oh no, this is going to exist forever and you're going to be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I think about my artist friends at work, graphic artists, graphic
yeah,
designers at work, who they were pencil and pen when they went to college.
yeah,
They learned to be artists, and then during their career, suddenly Photoshop and Illustrator and those things became their job. Like they had to.
oh yeah,
So people who could shift and do it with a mouse on a screen had a job. People who couldn't shift, well, you can go be a regular artist and paint pictures. Like our mutual
yeah,
friend Mark, who's an amazing nature painter, does
yeah,
that. But his career, he learned how to do digital, and he did
yeah,
he did things on the computer because that's what you had to do to do it as a career, as a designer in the corporate
yeah,
universe. And then on weekends, he painted bears,
yeah,
birds.
yeah. When I started, so when I was either a freshman or eighth grade, I forget. Um, I was getting into filmmaking, and my mom brought me to the community, like the community TV station, and you had to take like a 2-hour course on how to use all the equipment to be able to borrow the equipment, and then to borrow the equipment, you also had to be producing something that they could put on their channel. So you could do whatever you wanted with it. If you took out a camera for a week, you could do whatever you wanted as long as you also made something for their channel. So like it was a way of getting equipment. So we went and took it, and I went in and they showed us like okay, so this is how you're going to use the editing deck. You take your VHS and you put it in here, and then you put the master VHS that you're going to record everything onto. And then you take this wheel, you find the frame you want to start, and you take this, then you hit record, and you stop, and then you go back. And it was linear editing. I mean, VHS, it wasn't film, obviously. It's a little different, but it was pretty close. By the time I like,
You weren't literally cutting film,
right, but it was, but it was very, it was very linear. And then I went back like 6 months. It took me like a little while to get a couple friends interested in doing it, and I was still certified, but they hadn't gone through the class, so they went through the class again. And I was like, I'll go through the class again with you, just in case there's any new stuff. And they got IMAX and iMovie.
Completely different thing,
And,
right?
and it was like digital. I was like, oh, this is easy as hell. And then I got an iMac, and my grandmother bought us an iMac, and it had iMovie on it. And so I was like, okay, now I know how to edit. Like I can edit, and if you're willing to be granular, you can do pretty much everything. And then
now you get the same thing with that software, but plus YouTube. So you can say, well, how do I do this?
Yeah,
just boom, video.
Yeah, and then I was gonna say, then I went to college, and people were like using Final Cut, and I was like, well, okay, well, I've used iMovie for 4 years now, like making videos with my friends and stuff. I know how to use iMovie. Final Cut's just extra tool. It's like it's the same program,
a more complicated version, and you can do more stuff. It's harder to do the easy stuff, but you can do more stuff.
so I learned that, and then people were like, a lot of people were like, "Well, why do you do it?" When I would show, because I started teaching other people, they were like, "Why do you do it that way? You could do this easier." And I'm like, "But do you understand like how to adjust that? If you, by the way, it looks like you have a mohawk right now because of the tower from Lord of the Rings." It, I was like, so I was explaining that like, yeah, if you can do it easy, but it's kind of looks sloppy, and so like I was always like learning, I was still in my like infancy on all this. Now there's so much more, and I'm like, oh crap, I got to relearn, because it's been 10 years since I've learned anything new. Like Final Cut became so dumbed down by like you can do everything on Final Cut, but you don't have to do any effort or put in any like like any labor into the process.
Yeah.
So like when I started doing DaVinci Resolve, I was like, oh shit, this is like back to basics. Like, and it's so much better in a lot of ways. Like, I think it's a much better program in a lot of ways, but it's literally like, okay, frame, 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 frame. All right, snip, and like whereas Final Cut is, Final Cut's like, how like there's the AI generation tool on Photoshop now.
Oh yeah, I miss it.
Final Cut is like borderline that simple now, and you're like, you just type in like, I want this effect, and it's like, okay, and you're like, it looks cheesy and a little bit like, like
Yeah.
like Star Wipe, but it'll do.
Yeah, that's the thing I heard about leaving BMRU, because when I was there, the person before me in my role when I first got hired was a designer who also did some marketing. So he was the digital marketing guy.
Yeah.
I came in as a marketer who did digital.
Yeah.
But our admin could never get it through her head that I wasn't a designer. Like she would come to me send people to me to do things. Like, I don't do that. Just because Sean did it doesn't mean I do it. That's not in my job description. I do 10 things he didn't do. And when our friend Mark was hired and he said, I need the full suite of Adobe software to do full, all the different things, to do video and do audio and do art and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
For some reason, I got it too. Like she gave me all the software in Adobe Cloud, so it was always the most current thing. And that comes at 2 licenses, so you can have it on your work computer and your home computer. So everything I did creatively, I had full up-to-date Adobe. Like, so when AI was added to Photoshop, I had the AI. I could just change it back. Like what took me an hour to cut somebody out and trace them, because I'm not an artist. I'm not good with it. I'm just good at computers, so I'm functional using the tools. Suddenly becomes click on it and it cuts it out. And and then when I quit BMRU, like a week later, I lost my access and I cried. And I tried a bunch of I tried DaVinci and a bunch of other programs to try to replace it for video editing for stuff. And none of them made me happy. And I'm like, I'm not buying goddamn Adobe for full price where it's a subscription, because you can't buy it in a subscription. I'm like, I'm not paying you for the rest of my life. And then there was a sale for Adobe Elements, the photo and the video elements, for like less than $200 for both, and you're buying it. It's not a monthly thing. So I said, I will pay the money for it. I'm not doing a monthly, so I bought that. So, but it's still like the video and the
video full
photo, both of them have like 3 different settings.
Subscription is
like
crazy
super
expensive.
Basic if you don't know what you're doing, you just want to do stuff. A more guided, and then like then just like advanced, where it just here's all the tools, but all the tools are a tenth of the tools that real Photoshop or Premiere has. So I'm also Googling to see, is it possible to do what I used to be able to do with a click of a button?
Right. Nice. Yeah.
But it's funny because my brothers and I, all edit video together, but they don't make nearly the effort I do to try to do it right. So like I'll do a video and I'll have our avatar come up out of a hole, like in the beginning during the opening credits, and there's just still photo because they like just throwing the video up there.
Yeah. You just got to make the element for them to just throw on to their video.
Yeah. I'll go on Canva. I did it. I went on Canva and did like a beginning editing for our YouTube. Like, what's the score with question marks to use when we do YouTube shorts? I said, here, just download that piece of clip and put that at the end of the video. So you'll have something with it, with animation and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I've used Canva for photo stuff. I haven't used it for any video stuff, but.
Yeah, I mean, most I do for photo. It's just the one little animated GIF kind of thing in a video form. But then you can, clip it, save it as an MP4 so that you can then use it in your video editing as an element.
Yeah.
Yeah. One nice thing about Canva is because I run a president of a nonprofit, I'm able to sign up for it with a non. Because I do stuff for the nonprofit for, like, I do all our flyers and stuff, and they give like their pro access for free if you have a nonprofit email address. So I have full access to Canva to do all that stuff for Canva and the occasional thing for my YouTube channel, but mostly flyers and posters.
Nice.
Like, hey everyone, you just missed what I'm doing tomorrow night. The first Happy Heathen Hour in Apex, North Carolina. We're doing we switched our record night from Tuesdays to Mondays so that the fourth Tuesday of every month I can host a wine meetup in Apex. And we're doing it tomorrow, but it will be the past by the time you hear this, unless you're watching live.
Is that Peak of the Vine?
At Peak of the Vine on 301 North Salem Street, 6 o'clock, the fourth Tuesday of the month.
Nice. Yeah. That's cool. So
Atheist Alcohol and Apex, that's what I'm saying.
Nice. It's like AAA. I got my card. So I think I know the answer for this, but what would your dream job be right now? Like, what would be the thing that you'd be like, oh, that would be amazing?
I mean, if I could become Robin Williams, that would be nice. So the literal job I used to daydream about was if I could do corporate improv, like not just say do improv and do corporate workshops. I did that and I got paid nice for it, but it was like once, a couple times a year you get a good paying gig. Yeah. But I was like, it would be cool if the occupational health department at a giant company like Glaxo were to say, you know what, we do workshops, we do things. We want you to run the improv division. Hire 3 of your friends,
Yeah.
People would end up being my friends. So I know everybody in the business in the area, right, at the time. And be the director in occupational health. So I mean, my corporate job, corporate benefits, and contributing to the mission statement of helping people and do more, but do it by doing team building and thinking out of the box and creative problem solving through improv workshops. So doing my improv, which was my passion, but doing it in a way that did more than just make people laugh. That would have been the ultimate. Nice.
So Sarah last week had some big meetings, and she comes home. She spent 2 days in Raleigh. She wouldn't have gotten a hotel, but because of the snowstorm, was like, I just don't want to travel. So they were at a hotel because people coming from out of town. She comes back.
Wants to stay over.
He's pretty hot. So she came home and she's telling me all about the thing, and she says, like, I said, that, they called me out on this, and I said something, and she goes, that's funny, right? And I was like, and she goes, everyone laughed, and I'm like, congratulations, you're corporate funny. And she was like, oh, that's mean. And I was like, mm-hmm.
Yeah, when I was getting to know my current boss, when we did like a one-on-one just to talk about getting to, I said there'll be times where in a meeting, whether live or on video, I will suddenly get really quiet, or I'll have a faraway look or something, or something where it looks like something's wrong.
Yeah,
I've thought of something really funny to say, and I'm not saying it because it's not appropriate. And even if it's not work appropriate or not, just not appropriate for me to stop the meeting by making everyone laugh, because I'm not corporate funny. I'm real life funny, and everyone in the meeting will stop to laugh if I make a joke, not just a little titter. So I'll make dumb jokes that I know will not derail things. I mean, I can't help but make jokes or I'll explode. But when it's a really good one, I don't make the really good ones. You're not hearing my best material.
So anyway, because I wasn't working at a place where I was like super excited about it, I would sometimes make those jokes anyway. And so there was a day when we were in a conference room. Actually, we had to rent a hotel conference room because of how many people were in the room. And we had somebody on screen that was like a corporate partner that was lecturing about some product. I forget what it was. This is at my most recent job, but it was like 2 years ago. And I messaged the person next to me, and I said, "Oh, this guy really leans into his ums." Like, because he had been talking for like 2-3 minutes, and he was like, every time he would say he was like leaning into it. But it was only like 1 or 2 when I messaged that. At like by 10 minutes in, I had to go to the bathroom because I was laughing so hard because the like he was not prepared and he was nervous, and the woman next to me who I had messaged, like she's messaging me back like, you son of a bitch, you are leaving me here while to listen to that while you can't even sit straight faced in the room. And I'm like, so because I play off a laugh like I'm coughing sometimes if I'm like gonna get myself in trouble, so like and then I run out. And I felt bad too because I think like what I thought at first was just like not preparedness ended up becoming like a nervous tick. You know what I mean? So like if you don't know that the first time you see someone
the
go,
more nervous he gets, the more he's going to do it. So
okay.
that's one of the benefits of Teams becoming so prevalent in virtual meetings, because you're able to start messaging those jokes back and forth to people rather than talk to them in a meeting.
Yeah.
I used to love when I'd be in an empty office and I know coworkers in the next office, and I'm messaging her about people in France on the meeting with us, and I can hear her, like, I know she's on mute, and I can hear her through the wall laughing and see her like turning off her camera so they don't see that she's laughing. And like afterwards, like, you bastard, don't do that to me during the meeting.
Yeah. Yep, I've gotten that quite a bit, and yeah. Also, Alex says that he's not at all okay for work funny. So.
Mm-hmm. That's topics.
Yeah.
I thought I said I can't help but see the world through a comedy lens. Like every single thing I see or hear, the first 5 things in my head are jokes, and then I have to get to the real response, and I have to sort through them.
Anyway, so careers and jobs. Obviously my dream job is to write, whether that's for movies, TV, books. My dream job is to write. My dream job is to not have a real permanent boss. Like, obviously, you get hired on gig. Like, if I was a film writer, I'm gonna have bosses, but I'm not gonna have a boss.
Not a line manager.
Right. And so like that's part of my dream. But I would say like if I had to work in like a realistic, like day job kind of job, I don't know what that dream job would be.
I thought mine was like doing my improv. I know that's an unrealistic fantasy, but doing it at a corporate world could happen somewhere. Like that was close enough to dream about.
Actually, this is my honest answer, and is that if I could make HR videos for corporations on like you've seen old like 80s HR when they're like, hey toots, nice tits, and you're like, yeah, and they're like, this is not how you should act with your female coworkers. Like, I would love making those. No, that would be my dream corporate
when
job.
We did watch, there were times like at Glaxo when we watched this the safety videos, like office safety and stuff, and at the end it's like, there's always fill out this form rating the different aspects of this training, and I was like, as an employee, I think this was good, this was valuable. As a professional comedy director, this is the worst film I have ever seen.
See, I think I could make them good though. I think I could make them like artistic, and so people would be like, Jesus Christ, that was like not the basic. That wasn't like the hi Pam, you have a great ass. Has anyone ever told you that before?
I'm now picturing like a French impressionistic film. It was like the camera black and white zooms in, picture of her ass, picture of him, picture of her ass, picture of him.
I sense a sequel to Exit Interviews. Like,
I mean, it's Anthony's apologies all over again.
That's true, yeah. Anthony. Yeah, but
you get caught telling some chick at work that her boobs look good in a sweater.
Yeah.
We have ways around that. That was actually the best thing about bMRU's harassment training, because they were a small enough company that they did, Glaxo, 20 years of training. I know how to harass people. Stop training me. bMRU, like in 2019 or something, was the first time we ever had a formal training. And it was so much around, hey, if you do this and then you accidentally offend someone, We're going to tell you you should apologize and don't do that again. If you continue to do it, that's a problem. Like, don't think coming out of this training, oh no, I can't tell someone they look nice. If you tell them they look nice and they say thank you, that's fine. If they say, I'd rather you didn't say that, or they come to us and they ask us to tell you that because they're not comfortable, that person you don't say that to again. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Like, just don't do it persistently if it's not welcome.
I saw
that was very refreshing training.
SNL did one with Shane when Shane Gillis hosted last year, and it was a corporate. It wasn't a video. It was like a corporate meeting, and they were like, "All right, so we want to talk to you about like what's appropriate and not appropriate. Like, it's because of the nature of your jobs. It's like okay for you to ask somebody on a date like once." And Shane Gillis like raises his hand and he goes, "Okay, so like if I asked out Lori in accounting and she says no," and he goes, "then you can't ask her again." And he goes, "Okay, what if I know that Bob in accounting is married and he's not going to use his freebie? Can I take his freebie? And can I go back at Lori?" And he's like, "No, that's
at a corporate event."
and he's like, Bob's like, "I'll sell you my freebie," and he's like, "No," like the HR's like, "No, you don't get to do that." Like, I think like doing those kind of HR things would be very like genuinely. I would enjoy my days.
Yeah, it's funny because there's one woman who used to work at Glaxo that she worked in a different building than me, like a connected building, and she was on a different floor. So we would meet in the stairwell of her building and just make out in the stairwell. And like until we heard a door open up below, then we just walk away from each other.
Was it Madhavi?
Yes.
Okay.
That's like, it's a good time for my internet to go out, right? While I'm telling a story that sounds like I'm telling my wife.
Yeah. No. And I was like, I know that he was already with Madhavi when he started there, but I didn't know. Maybe it was like the idea of just, the idea of sneaking off to the stairwell to make out is funny to me, though.
Yeah, it was fun. When she worked, we would just meet in the stairwell, make out for a little while, and then go, we hear noise, walk up the stairs, down the stairs, and just go back to our desks. So,
nice.
What's funny was when I first started Glaxo, she worked at what is now LabCorp, and it was like 2 miles down the road, whatever. And we would meet for lunch every day. She'd come and eat in our cafeteria, or we'd meet at a restaurant in between. And one of her coworkers was like, "Why do you go have lunch with your husband every day? It's such weird." And she's like, "I mean, I married him."
Yeah. I was watching a thing like, I don't know, a half hour before we started recording, and this guy goes, I only got married like a few years ago, and it's so weird to hear like guys complaining and just saying the nastiest shit about their wives, the most like terrible shit. And he goes, I like my friends, but like I would choose to hang out with my wife before my friends almost any time because I like my wife better. Yeah. And I think that all the time with Sarah. I'm like I can't think of too many people that I could spend more than 24 hours with like my parents for a week, like at Christmas or whatever. But I can't think of anybody that I want to see 7 days a week,
so
my younger brother
is on his second and supposedly final marriage. No, I'm sure it is. But the way he realized that he wanted to divorce his wife was when they'd be on business trips, and everybody was saying, "Oh my God, when are we going to get home? I'm going to go home to my girlfriend. I want to get home to my wife." And he was thinking, "I would like to stay here another couple of days." And that's when he realized maybe my marriage is not working out.
Yeah, it's not a great sign. Yeah. I do want.
We were like, "Oh." Huh? Never mind, I won't say what I was going to say. What an evil bitch that woman was, but I won't say that. It'd be rude because she maybe my ex-sister-in-law, the evil bitch, listens to this, but I doubt the evil bitch listens to this.
How long have they been divorced? A while, right?
Oh yeah, like 16, 18 years. I don't know what year they got divorced, but he's been with his current wife for like 13 years. I think they've been married. So
I was going to say they were married already when I met you.
Yeah. They've been together a long time.
Yeah. I was saying to Sarah, because I sent you the meme a couple days ago about studies say that once you hit 7 years of friendship with someone, that you're going to be friends till you're likely to be friends the rest of your lives. And I sent that to Matthew, and Sarah goes, "Have you been friends with him for 7 years?" I'm like, "I've known him for 7 years in April, and we were friends almost immediately."
That's what I say. Like, you're not friends at work unless you do things together outside of work.
Okay, so
Like,
then
it's like,
tack on 4 months, like
yeah,
maybe.
because like my best friend at work right now, my buddy John. But like, I knew John for 20 years. We didn't we didn't talk until I texted him about this job, and as soon as we came back, we're buddies again. But we're not buddies outside of work. We're buddies at work.
Right. Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
Like,
That's
you say,
why-
who do you stay in touch with? Besides Facebook, after you leave a company, who do you actually? So you've been out away from your job a week and a half. Are you talking to any of those fucking losers? Okay, obviously one of them's on the call with us. One of those fucking losers.
So yeah, so I told her that, and then I said, and she goes, "Well, what did Matthew say back?" And I said, "Oh, he said that at his age, the rest of his life isn't that much longer." So. And she goes, "I do forget that he's so much older than you." I'm like, "He's so much older than me.
So much, so very much."
You're no, what are you? You were born in 1967.
Yes.
Okay, so you're 17 years older than me. So.
Well, it depends on the state.
Thanks for always
Isn't
throwing
that the best defense? Depends on the state. Some
Did you
states 16's okay.
Did you watch the new Anthony Jeselnik stand up yet?
No.
He's got this bit. I'm gonna ruin it for you. I'm sorry, but it's been 2 months.
How often do I get to watch Raw stand up in my house with family around?
He says that he has this bit about he does this bit, and then the bit is in this country, you're not considered an adult till you're 18 years old, and I think that's ridiculous. Because why can't you drive a car and I can't legally have sex with you? And then he goes, and I went and told that joke during this tour in Mississippi, and they were like, the age of consent is 16 here. You can drive a car and consent or whatever. And he goes, good. And then he goes, and I went to Alabama, and they were like, the age of consent's 14 or 13 or whatever. And he was like, that's fucking disgusting. Or something. It's been a while, but so I ruined the punchline.
When we were at a science fiction convention once, and Jacob was taking a picture, getting a promo photo taken with John Barrowman from Doctor Who and Arrow and such, and we'd seen him do a panel talk earlier, and he said something about people come up to him and they kind of flirt with him, men and women, and teenagers do, and he's like, my usual response is, call me when you're 18, to diffuse that situation. So Jacob's like, I saw your talk earlier, and gotta say, I think you're pretty hot, and I'm 16. And the guy goes, and Joe Brown was like, call me when you're 18. And he goes, this is North Carolina. 16's legal. You just can't record it till you're 18.
That is
it's 18 for me, buddy.
I respect that. I think that the idea that you can do it and you can't record it is so fucking weird.
Can't take a picture, like a girl can't take a picture of herself topless and send it to you, but she can fuck you.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
Yeah. It's bizarre. All right, should we start wrapping up?
Sure.
Okay.
The way that I usually like to wrap up is to take a extra large condom and stick a regular condom inside of it, just in case the extra large one falls off because it's way too big. Actually, I don't even remember what condom sizes are. I haven't worn a condom in decades.
Oh my God, Sarah sent me in to Dollar Tree the other day because we were going for a ride and Logan forgot headphones. She's like, just buy a cheap pair of headphones so we don't have to listen to his shit in the back, from the back
He's
seat.
listening to the podcast?
Yeah. No, he listens all the time. So I ran in. There's no headphones. They don't have any electronics there anymore. I ran in and I said, couldn't find any. Did get some condoms though. And she goes, really? And I was like, no, I wouldn't buy condoms at Dollar Tree. They're pre-hole poked. What are you talking about?
So anyway, if you're watching this on video, whether it's live or whether it's Memorex, you know what you should do? You should go ahead and slap that like button for this video just to show that you like this video. You know what you can do further? You should make a comment below. Talk about the last time you bought a condom at Dollar Tree. Go ahead, just make it in the comments. We love comments. Argue with someone else. Get into a huge flame war. The more, the better.
Tell us what your dream job is, or what you think would be a really cool job. Like that's what I like. Just like
what
let's
job
bring back
when you're at your current job.
Let's bring back passion for let's bring back jobs that inspire passion. That's what I want. I don't want it to be like I punch buttons.
Yeah, you know when your boss says what gets you out of bed in the morning, what would really be a job where you'd have an answer that wasn't a lie?
Yeah.
A fucking alarm clock gets me out of bed, moron. And go ahead and please subscribe to this channel so you can get all our videos, and hit the stupid notification bell. If you're on your phone, it'll ask you to allow notifications. Say yes, then you can say no later. It's okay. But just engage with us. We need the engagement. Michael is unemployed and I want to retire.
It's true. And another great way to engage with us is through podcast apps. So if you are listening to us and not watching us, you can give us either a follow or a subscribe, or give us 5 stars or a thumbs up or whatever, because they all have their own stupid little lingo. Do whatever is beneficial there. You know what it is because you're the one using the podcast app. If you want to give us gifts of money in a way that will help us to make the podcast better. I have a little child who needs food. If you wanted to help provide food for and headphones and Dollar Tree headphones, if you want to provide a meal for my son, you could go over to patreon.com/talking about the big stuff, and for as little as $1 a month, you can support the show.
I really want
some really good benefits
behind this.
Yeah, no, I just figured I can actually for once I can kind of actually pull that card, so I figured I'd do it. Just for fun. I'm obviously not trying to really guilt anybody.
Yeah, he's not starving yet.
Not yet. Although I have lost 11 pounds in the last month and a half, so but that's because of health reasons, not because of poor reasons. So yeah, that's everything. Matthew, any last thought?
I just want to thank everyone for sticking with us to talk about the big stuff. I know it's a job to get through all this.
Yeah.
Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. If you have thoughts or questions or topics you'd like us to tackle in a future episode, drop us a line on our social media channels. Engage with this video when you are now watching it as a VOD on YouTube. Send us an email. We love hearing from our listeners, bringing us topics, because if you leave it up to the three of us, we're going to eventually be talking about underwater basket weaving. So we would appreciate you guys reaching out a little bit. Don't forget to subscribe to Talking About the Big Stuff on your favorite platform. Give us a 5-star rating. Engage with it. Criticize us. We need to grow and be better, and you're going to help us be there. You're going to help us get to that point. It really helps us more to reach out and also to keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more big ideas and more thought-provoking discussions. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and keep talking about the big stuff.
The preceding podcast has been a Chocolate Diamond Media LLC production. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.